Run, river, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
Hi, welcome to Be My Guest. This is Jan Lewis. Today we have from Foster Pet Parenting at the Bay Path Humane Society over in Hopkinton. We got one of our kitties there, I remember that. Michelle Kreel, and she is the community coordinator over there for Foster Pet Parenting. And she has brought Lane with her, and you're going to tell us the story of Lane. How did you two get together and bond?
Okay, so Lane is actually what we call in the foster business a foster fail. I fostered somewhere approximately between 40 and 50 dogs and a couple of cats and kittens.
Do you have children?
I do.
How do they get along with all these pets?
They're amazing.
Okay.
It's one of the reasons I continue to foster, because what it's done for my now 14-year-old son and his level of empathy is amazing.
Yeah.
But in Lane's case, Lane came up actually through a different rescue, but he came up from Louisiana with two of his, a brother and a sister. His backstory, from what we knew, was he had just been kept outside, never had any human contact. He was an owner surrender. Again, we don't know all the details behind it, but when he came up, he was so frightened. He'd never been in a home environment ever before, had zero socialization skills or whatever, and this poor dog was terrified.
He would not come out of his cage.
For almost a year.
So I asked Michelle, how did you get him out to poop? Now seriously, how did you do that?
So he was by far my toughest case. I would go in with my leash several times a day, and I'd leash him and I'd bring him out with me. It slowly did get better over the year, where he would come out when it was just him and I in the house. It got easier for that. He ate in his crate. He did everything in his crate. He cowered at the back of his crate for the longest. For a year.
Imagine your pet for a year.
So, but I just gave him space. My family and I gave him space. We let him be as long as he needed to be. Matter of fact, my son would sit outside his crate and just talk to him out loud, doing homework. You know, he'd play on his iPhone and just be outside. So over the course of months, you know, he just got comfortable. And then suddenly, it was literally overnight, he started to blossom. He started to realize he came out, and then he came out more. And then then when he was actually adoptable, because he wasn't the shut down, crazy, scared little dog, I'd had him for over a year at that point, and I thought I couldn't give him up.
Was he very little? Was he littler from that?
Nope. I got him full grown. He came up, we thought at the time he was somewhere between 3 and 4. That was our guess based on, the vets and whatnot. So now he's, 7 or 8 or something like that, and he is the friendliest dog ever now. He
his
goes
eyes,
hiking.
His eyes get you, the big brown eyes. So he's yours.
He's mine.
Is he the only one you've kept at you?
The only one out of, like I said, probably somewhere between 40 and 50 animals. It's called a foster fail. It's the best kind of failure. Come here, baby. You want that? Yeah. And it's quite frankly, it's one of the reasons a lot of people are afraid to foster. The first thing they say is, I could never do that. I would want to keep every one of them. And so that's the biggest question I get when people ask about fostering is, how do you do it? How do you give them up?
How do you detach from it?
And so you really don't ever detach. You do get to be quite fond of them, and they become part of your family.
Do they feel like you're abandoning them, you think?
No. It's really quite wonderful. They really don't. Your time with them, for whatever reason they might be in foster. He was in foster because he was terrified, and a shelter was just no place for him. Other animals aren't broken down, and they might be in shelter. They might have medical issues where, I fostered a couple of blind puppies. That shelter wasn't a good environment for them. Some just need a little bit of recovery time because they've had a small procedure. Some might be recovering from heartworm.
PTSD sounds like Lane had that from what he went through.
Yeah, very possible. Yeah.
And he needed a human to be his therapy human.
Right, exactly. It was kind of the reverse. So a lot of people will ask me, how do you do it? And the thing is that you know at the end that their time with you, you've helped them relax, or you've helped them get over, a medical issue that they had, and then they're ready to go to a home that actually wants them. I mean, I'm willing to keep them, of course, as long as they need, but when someone chooses to adopt them, let's say you choose to adopt, you want that dog. And so there's a difference between being willing to keep an animal and then someone who really wants that dog. So they're going somewhere better than you, and then it leaves you open to help another.
Have you taken in more kitties or more dogs?
Well, my husband and my son are both allergic to cats.
Uh-oh.
So when I take them in, it's not the best situation for them. So I really don't foster a lot of cats. The one mama cat and kitties and an orphan kitty that I did was kind of an emergent situation. And I set them up in a spare room downstairs, and my husband and son just did not use that room for the couple of months.
I was reading, I don't know if you could zero in on these, Paul, but you brought two fantastic posters on foster care. Nellie, we'll talk about Nellie the dog, and then about kittens, and of course we've had cats, and a foster parent can actually bring the mommy cat in who's still nursing.
Yes.
Tell me, that's amazing.
This is wonderful, because this is something, in order to foster cats or kittens, you really don't need a whole lot of experience as a rule. You need an extra bedroom, or maybe an extra bathroom, or even a laundry room. And the mama cat does all the work. You bring in the mama and her babies in most cases, and then you just give them a comfortable place, and you let the mom do her thing. You feed and water and obviously do the litter boxes.
Would a mommy dog do the same thing?
Yes. So there are times when we have mamas with litters of puppies, and it's kind of the same idea. You need a much bigger environment for puppies, obviously, and you have to be aware that puppies are all over the place, and the socialization that goes with it. But the mama does all the work with the kittens, with the exception of sometimes you have orphan kittens. In my case, one of the kittens that I fostered was an orphan kitten.
Did you have to feed by dropper?
I was lucky. I did not, because the mama cat that I had with her own two, she took on my baby.
Boy, you were lucky.
It was very lucky, and she was such a young mom herself, but she did a wonderful job. But there are instances, and that's one of the things, there are instances where you would have to feed round the clock, and it's much harder, and you have to have a much bigger time commitment. And so if you were gonna go on and decide to become a foster parent, there's a list of things that you can and cannot do. If you work and you don't have time to do round-the-clock feeding, then obviously you would not take on an animal that needed that. If we try to set you up for success, whether you're fostering an animal just for a short time because you have let's say you have vacation planned and you really can't. We might need someone to foster just for 2 weeks while they recover from a small medical procedure.
Maybe even spaying girl cat?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, as a general rule, most animals are okay in the shelter, and being in the shelter gives them more, window shopping, if you will. People can go and...
That's how we got our cat.
Yeah, you go there and you see the animal.
And I picked him up.
Oh, yeah.
And he could not stop purring.
Yeah.
We were sold.
Sure.
But the thing is, I wish we had taken his brother, too, looking back.
Yeah.
We couldn't take both at the time, but it's expensive. I mean, I gotta be honest, it's not cheap if you're gonna go. But it's worth it, because they're already taken care of, basically medically, right?
So there's several things that are included when an adoption fee, and a lot of people get that. Geez, I just wanted to rescue an animal. You're charging me the same as if I was
at the vet.
And there's a few different reasons for that, from my perspective. All the medical care that goes in, they always come with fully vetted shots. They come neutered and spayed.
He has a chip. He's on a chip.
Absolutely, chip. A lot of our animals we get, they might come in as strays. They may come in with some serious medical conditions. One of my former fosters was a paralyzed bulldog puppy. Paralyzed from the waist down, and she has some significant health care cost associated with her, so that's something that Bay Path covers. It's also a little bit, although people probably won't necessarily agree with me, but it's also you don't want any pets returned.
Yeah.
So you don't want someone just with a soft heart adopting an animal that they can't financially
You want them
support.
serious about
Yeah,
this.
yeah. So they, you know, you
And
might
they
get,
check your background.
Sure,
too.
yeah, we do a
We had to
well,
have
we do
what was a reference? We
a
had
reference check.
yeah.
If you've had former animals, we check your vet records. But we don't want someone coming in who just loves animals and taking home 2 animals that they can't financially afford. They
Yeah.
can't, you know, if you can't afford the adoption fee at a couple $100s, how are you going to afford to feed, you know, do vet, you know,
Yeah.
annual vet care, or God forbid emergency vet care if something should happen to your dog. So we want to make sure you're financially able to take care of an animal as well.
Tell us about Nellie. That was my great-grandmother's name, Nellie.
So Nellie,
Tell us about Nellie's story.
yeah, Nellie,
You zeroed in that, Paul.
Nellie is a beautiful dog, and she was one of our Bay Path ambassadors. She would go to different events and stuff. Sandy, who adopted her, is one of our. She was a longtime volunteer, and now she's on our board of directors and the like, and she actually runs the marathon every year in benefit of Bay Path. But Nellie came in as an older dog, which can be a lot harder to adopt, because an older dog comes with its own set of issues. First of all, years of whatever kind of treatment they get, and they also, older dogs, just like older people, they have their own set of, you know, possible medical things, you know, different medicines that they might have, and they are more expensive. And in this case, she just really, the shelter was too stressful for her.
Nellie, and she came in at 12
She
years
was
old.
12, yeah.
Why was it a senior citizen maybe who couldn't take care anymore?
Well, her story is, her owners were selling her on Craigslist along with their possessions. So, which is horrible.
Oh, God.
So a rescue group, I don't know which one, saw her being sold on Craigslist.
Yeah, I've heard about this happening.
Yes, and brought her to Bay Path. And
Did they buy her from these people?
I don't know the
Yeah,
answer, but
right.
I believe so. Which you know, actually, I've done it. Found a dog on his Craigslist.
Do you actually
and
tell these
bought it.
people, do you tell them really why you're there?
Yes.
Or, yeah, you do.
Well, I do.
Yeah.
Because even though I probably shouldn't, sometimes there are really valid reasons for an owner surrender. It could be, you know, allergies, children coming into the home. But, you know, a lot of the time, I feel if you take on a pet, they're part of your family. And just the same way you wouldn't get rid of a child because they had an allergy or whatever. You don't want to just get rid of a pet because, you know, we don't have time for it anymore, or nobody's taking care of it, or my son. You know, if it becomes a real medical issue, I absolutely understand. But, you know, divorce, you know, find a home that allows
my
pets
son,
if you
growing
can.
up, we always made sure we had kitties. And I always thought, okay, if we ever find out he's allergic, I'm not going to make it so he can't have a pet.
Right.
We will get shots,
Yes,
okay?
yes.
We'll do it. It's worth it. And
but-
the empathy thing you mentioned was wonderful because his kitty cat, his girl cat, got pregnant. And I said, this is a perfect opportunity, it was about 10 to something like that, to watch the process of the kittens being born.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, you can go over and you can comfort her if you'd like to. When she was in labor, I said, you can just pat her a little bit. And he watched the process, and it helps with the empathy.
Great, it's wonderful.
Yeah, we kept one kitten. One, I said, you can keep one.
Oh,
I think it was one of the boy cats. Yeah, we kept one. One wasn't thriving, and our friends who adopted her, she said, I used a dropper, and she was able to bring the kitty back, you know.
It's wonderful, and you develop, you know, you get bonded with them and such. But so when Sandy brought her home, she ended up being, again, what we call a foster fail, and she ended up keeping her, and she's actually adopted several animals over the years through Bay Path. She's one of our rock stars. She's like everything to Bay Path. We love her.
Your family must love Lane now. You know, it's like,
yes,
she got to stay. The kids must
I know
be
she's
thrilled,
shedding.
you know.
So it's even my son just commented the other day when, you know, Lane came barreling in and his tail's wagging and he's doing this whole border collie like leaps and bounds because he's so happy that he heard your voice of your call, and he's like, wow, look at how happy Lane is.
It's
And
obvious.
he's a happy dog, which you would have never imagined.
We're talking with Michelle Kreel, and she is from Foster Pet Parenting over at the Bay Path Humane Society in Hopkinton. She's the community coordinator. How can people reach you, Michelle?
So you can actually, if you want to reach the foster program in general, you can just go on baypathhumanesociety.org. We have a Facebook page, we have a website. We're located right in Hopkinton. We are open every day from 11:30 to 4:30 except for Tuesdays. And if you're interested in fostering, you could go right online. There's a whole question and answer thing about fostering on the website. There's a application form right on the website in regards to fostering.
And go over and visit.
And sure, and for my email, oh my God, I believe it's community@baypath.org. It's on the website.
Yeah.
It goes directly to me because less for fostering and more because I do a lot of meetings with various groups, Cub Scout groups or Girl Scout tours, that sort of thing. So occasional women's group might be interested in hearing about Bay Path or fostering, and I'll go to a meeting like that. So.
I asked Michelle, I said, of course, my favorite dog is a Basset. I've never owned one.
Sure,
But since I was a little girl, I've loved them. And I said, do you ever get, a Bassie coming in to be rescued? Once in a blue moon, right?
Yeah. Certain breeds we don't get in as often as others because a lot of breeds have a very big fan base. People who have Bassets love Bassets.
I don't want a smart dog. I want a buddy.
And a lot of these breeds have, matter of fact, a girl that I used to work with works with a Basset rescue that specifically rescues Bassets. And so a lot of these, the bulldog people love their bulldogs. Certain breeds, but we get mixed breeds. We get purebreds all the time for various reasons. A lot of time it's something as simple as what's one of the things that's happening kind of now is I've never seen it, but the Game of Thrones show that's on TV. Mm-hmm. Apparently, there's this wolf pack in there, and they're using husky dogs as in the movie.
Well, but our videographer is a biggie on that.
So, but now you find a lot of people falling in love with husky dogs, and they run out and they're buying these husky puppies, which are cute as can be. But huskies are not the breed for the weak of heart. They need tons of exercise. They shed a lot. They are very stubborn. They're tough to train.
Are they tougher than a Basset?
Every dog has its own thing. I mean, all dogs, I think, all dogs will benefit from training, no matter the breed. And then not all breeds fall into what you call a breed standard either. But the reality is people, like it happened back in the 101 Dalmatian days. People went out and got Dalmatians by the bucket loads, and Dalmatians filled shelters all over the country. Because again, they're cute and whatever, but these cute things grow up, and if you're not gonna raise them and train them the way they need to be trained, so that happens a lot. And then, people think they want a puppy, and then they don't have the time to put into a puppy.
You've got to be able to walk. That was the hardest part for me, is, you got to walk them, not just for exercise, but they got to go.
Yes, exactly.
And you see all these owners with these little dude bags.
and just especially for a young dog or a very energetic dog, just having a fenced-in yard, which is wonderful, but that's not letting the dog out to go to the bathroom in your fenced-in yard isn't getting that dog exercise. If you have to walk, you have to run that dog, or you have to put your time in your backyard with a fence, with a ball, a frisbee, taking the dog for walks, hikes, because
where we live, right over here in Upton, it's like we have lots of people walking their dogs, and they're all different breeds, from the tiniest fluff ball to this moose like a bear.
Yes.
They're huge.
And they're so good for you. I mean, the more you exercise a dog, first of all, the better of a dog he's going to be. He's going to be less anxious. He's going to be less destructive. When you're talking about foster animals, the more you exercise them, the more it's going to lessen their anxiety if they're anxious of being in your home. And it's going to help them heal faster or become that adoptable pet.
How, Michelle, would somebody know if they're cut out to be a foster pet, knowing that you're gonna have to be, giving it back again. How do you know that you have that ability to give it back?
Well, so here's two things that you could keep in mind. You talk to someone like me who has done it, 40 plus times, or talk to others.
Yeah.
It's not the worst thing in the world if you foster fail. Sometimes it's great, and now maybe it means that you don't have room to foster another dog in the future, but
now you have.
Now you have your dog.
Yeah.
It's the first one I would say is generally the hardest one to give up. That's not always the case. Lane was probably somewhere middle of the pack for me. He was probably my, and so many before him I had just adored and loved and thought this was a great
That'd
dog.
be so hard.
Yeah.
But if you know they're
My
going to a
blind
good
puppies,
family,
yeah. Yes.
you get to meet the family.
I do. Bay Path is one of the places that, at least for me, I do a lot of the actual meet and greets with the animals myself. Most people don't have to do all right, let me back up. For me, I, as a rule, only foster the tougher cases, the ones that have heartworm that they'll be in my care for, between 6 and 10 months because it's a long treatment, or the really shy ones that like Lainey was, or my current foster is not as critical as Lane, but she's really shy, or my paralyzed bulldog puppy, or the blind Doberman puppies.
And you found homes for them.
Yes. Sometimes they find homes on their own. Oftentimes I have several of my friends and family that have adopted past fosters of mine. It's awesome because not only do these dogs stay in my life, but I can just kind of see where they're at, and I feel like I've, done diligence and gave someone a dog that's great, and
Or a kitty.
Yeah, again, I as much as I love cats, I don't often get a chance to do that because of
Do they have guinea pigs over there?
No. We don't. We only do dogs and cats at Bay Path. I know there are places that will. Some of the pet stores might take in small animals and that sort of thing. But as far as Bay Path, we are strictly dogs and cats.
You brought some good pictures with you.
Yes.
We'll hold them right up and you
Okay.
can see. These are some of the past foster pets?
These are this one here. This is my current foster. This is Britt. I don't know if you can see
And
that.
what was his issue?
So we don't have a big backstory on her. She is
Paul's going to tell you how to hold that up. How's that?
okay. So she is a mixed hound dog, Appalachian Mountain cur dog of some sort. She came up from South Carolina. We don't have a lot of background on her. We don't always get a big background. Her situation is such that she just is kind of shy, and the shelter was not right for her. We have a fantastic shelter. If I was going to be an animal in a shelter, Bay Path would be where I would want to go.
That's where we found our cat.
They get 3 walks a day. We have 178 active volunteers there.
They're very on top of things.
But even with them being wonderful, it's a scary place for an animal. It's loud. There's people in and out all the time.
They're getting, like the kittens are getting picked up.
And which is great for kittens. That's wonderful. But for a dog that's frightened, like Britt, it's not the best place. So she's just gonna hang out at my house for a while and.
This is a beauty. What's this white one? Oh my! Is that a pitty? No, it's not.
So Walshy, this is Walshy. He's one of my favorite stories, and he is a success story of mine. Walshy, this.
We got it. Turn it a little bit. There you go.
Okay, so Walshy, sorry, I'm a TV newbie. Walshy is one of my favorite stories. He came into the shelter as a stray. We found him, he was wandering in Hoppington. He was covered with ticks and dirty.
How could let some dogs, so beautiful, let him go?
He had every tick-borne disease. He had heartworm, he had, from mosquitoes, he had Lyme disease, he had rocky spotted tick disease, and he was terrified. If you even went to pat this dog, he would cringe and cower, pee on the floor, spread eagle on the floor. He was just a terrified little dog. So he came to our house, and I can put that.
Yeah.
So he came to our house, and similar to Lane, we just let him be as long as he needed to be.
Yeah.
When it was time for him to start emerging, he did. He's the funniest, friendliest, happiest dog right now.
What's his breed again?
He is just a hound mix.
Oh. He looks.
He got adopted by my cousin Tina and my godson Braden.
Yeah.
And he is a dog. In this picture here, I have brought him to a Cub Scout pack meeting.
I see the Cub Scouts.
Filled with kids and noises.
And they were
And
nuts,
he walked around with his tail wagging and his face smiling, greeting all these kids. And to go from a dog that,
Yeah.
you know,
Cringes.
when you go near him to walking around and greeting a room full of
Amazing.
children.
Did you have to put him into quarantine because of all of his issues at first?
So any dog that gets brought into the state of Massachusetts has to go into a 48-hour quarantine.
Yeah.
In his case, he was already in the state of Massachusetts, but you're always careful. I mean, I have animals; they always get vetted before they even come to my house. So even though he was found as a stray, he still received, because we don't know, so he still received all of his shots and everything he needed.
Sure.
He went on an 8-month course of heartworm treatment with me. Kind of midway, when he really started emerging from his shell, is when my little cousin Braden, who's my godson, fell in love with him, and they actually took over the fostering from me and finished fostering
finished
him.
it for you?
It's called Foster to Adopt.
We get about 3 minutes left.
Oh,
Now, what
okay.
pick a puppy to show us.
Okay,
Which one?
so these guys, I'll go through them all really
Are
fast.
they still available?
So no, these guys were 2 blind Doberman Pinscher puppies that came into our care. They have gone to 2 amazing homes. They're about 3 or 4 now. I keep in touch with both sets of owners.
Blind.
And they were great. My son taught them how to walk on leash. He taught them how to go up and down stairs.
How old was your son when he did this?
He was about, that was about 2009, I think. I don't remember. He was young. He's 14 now, so that was probably about...
What a power of example he
5
is.
years. Yeah.
To other children.
He was amazing. He,
Who's this guy now?
this guy here, this is Diamond Girl. She's there with my resident dog. This is Diamond Girl. Another favorite story, another dog that got adopted by a friend of mine that fell in love with her. She came to me as a young, about 8 months old. She had severe heartworm, and her difficulties was because she was so young and energetic and full of life and vigor, and at 8 months, the heartworm, in order to treat heartworm, if you don't know, it's very important to keep a dog still.
Sure.
So her challenge was to try to keep her for 9 months still.
Did you have to give her tranquilizers?
Nope, I spent all my time training her.
Right.
So instead of running, we would use treats and we would sit down, stay, like I kept her mind as busy as I could. And when she went to my friend Diana, my friend ended up adopting her. She was trained better than any of my dogs have ever been trained, because I had no other outlet.
You love this. You could see it in Michelle's. Michelle, before we close, how can they reach you again? BaypathHumaneSociety.org. I have a direct email, community@baypath.com. Please go on the website. I don't know my own email. It's terrible. That's okay.
But you can reach any of the staff or volunteers at Baypath, can answer any of the questions that I can.
And what are the hours over there?
The hours, we are open to the public from 11:30 to 4:30 every day but Tuesday. And all of the information for fostering or adopting, or even just questions that you might have, a lot of them can be answered right on our website.
Can you bring Lane before we say goodbye?
Come here, Lane.
Come here, Lane. Let's have you say goodbye to everybody.
Yeah, can you say
Let's do
goodbye?
Mom. Let's do Mommy. There.
Come up. And can you smile
She's
to
got
the
a
camera?
treat for him.
Oh, I can give you a treat. Maybe you want to give him a treat.
When do you think his birthday? Or have you made a birthday for
I
him?
just gave him August 18th as a birthday.
Oh, he's a Leo like me.
Because I could remember that date because
Mine's
it's
the
my
16th.
anniversary.
Good.
So
Thank
we
you
don't
for
really
bringing
know.
him. You've
Yes.
done a beautiful job with this
Oh,
dog.
thank you.
And he was so
Yeah.
shy for a year. He
He
was in
was
the
so
crate.
shy.
Wouldn't come out, and they managed to let him.
This was my roughest one of all.
Thank you, Michelle, so much.
Oh, thank
And
you.
we should have you back on. Pick another animal, and we'll just keep getting the word out more and more. If you'd like to foster an animal, or if you want to even just adopt right then and there. My husband and I walked in, went into the kitty room, and we
Exactly.
saw, and we looked around, and we went, We took this one, little one, who's now 20 pounds, took it, and he was purring his head off, and we went, oh. And
You
then,
know.
of course, I want a basset hound too, so I mean, I don't know
Sometimes
if we
the
get it.
animals pick you.
Yeah.
And which is what I think was the case with Lane. I had no intention. People told me the whole time I had him
Yeah.
that I was going to keep this dog, and I was like,
They do. They
I
do.
never.
They-
I don't
you-
ever keep the
That
dog.
you could see it in the love in the eyes. He
So,
is,
yeah.
he's so well behaved, my gosh.
He's a good boy.
Thank
he's
you
a
for
good
coming,
boy.
both of you.
Thank you for
Does he
having
did he drive?
Yeah. He drives my chickens around the that's what he does.
Just don't let him drink, okay?
Okay.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you very
All right,
much.
we'll
to
have you
meet
back.
Okay.
All right, we'll see you next time.